During this lesson, we'll go over the basics of fly presentation and mending. Fly presentation is one of the key opponents in fly fishing. You have a different presentation for dry fly fishing than you do for nymphing or streamer fishing. What this lesson will go over is the basics of moving water and how it can affect the look of your fly as it passes through the feeding lane. Don't worry, we'll discuss the feeding lane in later presentations, but I want you to have a good understanding of how moving water can work with you or against you when it comes to your fly fishing. We'll start with the upstream presentation and fly line angles. When I'm out in the water, the thing that makes me laugh the most is watching a fly fisherman pull up to a parking lot, throw on their gear as fast as they can, and haul off to find their perfect spot, while I'm still enjoying the sunrise over the mountain. I watch them run down to the river, fishing the entire stretch. What's amazing to me is they don't stop to think that the trout are looking straight at them. You see, trout don't need to feed downriver unless they're chasing smaller fish in front of them. So the number one rule of fishing in any section of water is start at the bottom and work your way up. A fish's perspective. A trout has a great sense of sight, smell, and sound, but only from certain directions. From this image, you will see that the trout's sight line is in the shape of a cone. If you're outside of this cone radius, then the trout are unable to see you. But the minute that you move inside of that zone, they can see you, and they are gone. Trout cannot see behind themselves, so your best option is to sneak up on them and fish upstream. If you're casting upstream, you're casting from behind them, and they can't see you. So let's go over some basic knowledge on a stream or a river, and the best angle for a new fisherman to start with. We have 5 different type of presentations I like to always discuss. Number 1 is your upstream. This means that you're heading towards you, not away from you. Casting in that direction, you'll be parallel with the bank and casting towards the water coming at you. You have a 45-degree angle, or a quartering upstream. This is a great way to start for any fisherman, any new fly fisherman. And as you get more advanced, you can go straight upstream. But as a beginner, you don't have less of a chance of spooking the fish if you do that 45-degree angle. You have a cross stream, which is directly across from you. If you're on one bank, you're casting to the other bank. This can be difficult because the line doesn't have enough time to be mended before going to your downstream presentation. So a lot of the time, you're going to have some drag. You have the 45 degrees downstream or quartering downstream. This is often used for emergers or salmon presentation. We'll use a little bit of this in the drift hook fly fishing system, but the majority of the time we're going to be doing that 45-degree quartering upstream. And then last but not least is the downstream presentation, which you're going to be parallel to the bank, casting forward down towards the water that's moving away from. Now, this is really tricky because you are casting into where the fish can see you. But this is also a great technique when you're using any type of streamers that you're going to want to be hugging those banks and trying to spook those big monsters out from underneath there. So I'm not going to throw that baby out with the bathwater just quite yet. In the drift hook fly fishing system, we focus on trout presentation. Unless you're fishing streamers or web flies or fishing for steelhead or salmon, the objective of dry fly fishing and nymph fishing is to present the fly with a natural presentation. To do this, we need to maintain the line so it does not pull the fly or drag the fly in an unnatural way. So how do we go about doing that? The easiest cast to accomplish this is going to be your 45-degree upstream quartering cast. That's a mouthful. Just think 45 degrees upstream. This will keep the fly line away from the fish so it does not spook them. And it keeps that leader and that tippet up above in that feeding zone. The leader and tippet, because they're clear, they're virtually invisible to the fish. But that line, that'll spook them. So try to keep that away from the fish at all times. The upstream quarter stream presentation will give you the most amount of water coverage and the least amount of exposure of your fly line to the fish. But as with all casts, the key is to keep your fly looking natural without the current pointer line and making the fly look fake. There are 2 easy ways to tell if your fly looks fake to a fish. When dry fly fishing, look for the V behind the fly. It'll look like your fly has its own personal cigar boat cruising through the water. Trout catch on to this and realize that it's not natural. When nymphing, check your indicator. If it's doing the same thing as the flying V, then you know that the same thing is happening under the water. Now, if your fly is doing this, creating that wake, we need to do what they call mending. So what is mending? The idea is to keep a tight line between your rod and the fly without disturbing the dead drift. When your fly is upstream, you need to strip the line to make sure it is tight enough to set the hook when you have a hit. Mending is when the fly line is past you heading downriver and you need to adjust it so it doesn't buckle up and cause a drag to your fly on the way down. As you can see here, the key is not to have slack in your line. If your fly has a hit and you try to lift it for a hook, you have way too much slack to set the hook properly. Fish have a great sense of smell and taste, and you'll only have a quick second to set the fly before the trout decides to spit it out. In most areas, you'll typically start stripping the minute your fly hits the water. The reason for this is because the fly is coming to you. If you're not constantly mending, then you'll have too much slack. As soon as the fly gets past you, this is when you start mending again. Remember, the key to mending is just making sure that your line is not making your fly create a huge wake in the water. So how do we do this? When the line goes below your fly, you flip your line upstream. That's it. I know it sounds like it should be more complicated, but that's pretty much all you do. And don't get me wrong, it takes a little practice to get the hang of it, but really it's as simple as making sure your line isn't dragging your fly. Lift your line off the water and flick it. Don't worry about what happens. You need to dive into it and play with it before you can get an idea of what that line is going to react to. Lift it up, flick it, give it a little twirl, keep an eye on your fly or indicator and see how it reacts. The key is to get the line off the water and create a natural drift for the fly, but at the same time making sure you don't have any slack. So when you do get that hit, you're able to land that monster trout.
Thank you.